All right. Good morning, beautiful people, and happy Wednesday. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I was on a mastermind this week and I heard something I thought was powerful, so I wanted to share it with you guys. But before we officially get rolling, before we officially get started, as always, in true fast form, we're going to have one of you guys bring us out on the field on this glorious morning. So let's see who I have on that has their camera on. So let's go to Cortez. Cortez, my man, I want you to bring the team out of the tunnel, bring us out on the field on this glorious Wednesday morning. So without further ado, Cortez, and then also you had a guest that showed up a day early. She came yesterday, but maybe she's back on today.
Who was that guest?
I don't remember her name, but she's like, Cortez told me to come on. She came on yesterday. I was in a different meeting, but she's like, all right, well, I'll be there tomorrow then.
Oh, good. I've been inviting a lot of people. That's what's up. So happy Wednesday. It's a beautiful day. I think it's going to be warm today. So let's get our game face ready. I actually have some viewings today. I have a few appointments. I'm showing 3 houses today. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, man.
So everybody, let's have a game face on. I'm excited to get coached today. So I'm just interested what Elias has to tell us.
I love that. I love that. And you know what, you guys, I'm going to send this back to you guys. I'm interested to be coached by you as well. And here's why. We're learning together, right? There's things that you say that are vastly better than what I could have ever said. And then I'm like, damn, that person's got some tremendous dialogue. There's people that have been in this game way longer than me. So I love hearing from you guys because it keeps me sharp and it keeps me also accountable as well. So I appreciate that. And thanks for being here. I want to share a quote with you guys this morning. And it came from Raquel Quinnett when we were out in Arizona. It says this: do something today that your future self will thank you for. Our actions and decisions today will shape the way we will be living in the future. I want you to look at your life 5 years down the road. What have you accomplished? How has your life changed? Who have you served? What impact have you made on the world? And how have you contributed at the highest possible level? Because I'll tell you what, there's people on this screen right now that in the last 5 years have completely transformed their entire life. The way that they're able to contribute to their parents, buy homes for their parents, do something for their family, go on vacations, buy multiple income properties, buy multiple homes, buy income producing homes, all these different things, right? So I want you to think about everything that you do today. You want to sleep in, you don't want to prospect, you want to do these things. What impact is that going to have over the long run? Or if you say, you know what, every single day I'm going to step up and I'm going to do a little bit today, I'm going to do a little bit more today, inching towards where you guys want to be in 5 years. So I just want to share that thought with you. I thought it was super important. So I want to share with you guys, yesterday I had a court session for custody with my daughter, Lily. As you guys know, I have a 5-year-old daughter. She's going to be 6. August 31st, her mom took off when she was 8 months pregnant and drove all the way to Alaska. And I didn't meet my baby until last year. I documented the whole entire journey. So super emotional. But yesterday I was able to actually get scheduled visits. I'm going to have her for 6 weeks here in a couple weeks. She'll be home with me. I have an extra room for her. We're going to get it all pinked out. It's going to be perfect. And then I have scheduled visits throughout the year. I have spring break. I have Christmas break. I have 4 days every single quarter. So it's not everything. It's not that she's living with me, but now there's no more battle with her mom. The judge was super stoked that I just want to be there for my daughter. And so want to share that with you guys. It is super emotional to be able to have her here and to share the space and for have her just hang out with her brother. I think that's so important. So I appreciate all the messages yesterday. I got filled with text messages and DMs. So my heart goes out to you guys. Thank you so much. I want to turn it over to Jo Ellen. I think that a huge congratulations is due to Jo Ellen. As you can see, and if you didn't see on her social, she is in her new pad. She purchased a home. You can tell us a little bit more about that, where that house is, but you also had to have some great strategy in order to get the home. So congratulations. Tell us where the new home is, how you're feeling, how's the family doing, the first couple nights in the home. Let's turn it over to you really quick.
Hi guys. Yeah, so it feels absolutely amazing. I think you know my story, being a teen mom, having 2 kids, graduating, but before I graduated, having 3 kids, met my husband, then we had 2 kids. And we pretty much compromised homeownership all of our lives pretty much so that we could raise them in good schools. So we rented. So this just feels amazing. The area is great. It's Cameron Park, El Dorado County. You get a little more bang for your buck. We have over a quarter of an acre, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet with a full ADU for $660,000. So, and this is a really hot market up here. We went out 3 weeks in a row. There was only about 7 listings, I believe. We wrote 3 offers, and then the third one stuck, waived all contingencies, gave a 21-day rent back, was fully approved, and closed in 11 days.
Oh my goodness.
But the agent did say the reason why there were higher offers than ours, but since I communicated with clear communication, responsive, built rapport with him, they chose us and my lender. So
I love this. I love this. And you have a really, really tight relationship with your lender. Who's your lender?
Christina Nunez with Planet Lending.
Awesome. Awesome. I hear really good things about her. She hops on video with you guys, can help you with co-marketing, co-branding. Incredible. And so how are the kids feeling in their new home?
They're doing really good. I want to share with everybody. Yeah, they're loving it, but we had a little bit of a traumatic situation on Saturday. I'm still kind of shooken up about it. Colton, he's okay. He fell down our stairs that go into the garage.
Oh no.
And he had to be picked up by ambulance and took him to UC Davis on Saturday. He's okay. But it was at a point where I thought I had to do CPR on him.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So he's home now. What happened? Did he hit his head?
What happened was the third step, he missed it. And I didn't realize it, but the stairs are pointy on the end. And what happened is it hit his tailbone so hard that it knocked the wind out of him. And when I found him, which I was in the laundry room, right, real nearby, and I heard him say, "Help me, mommy," like in a voice of when someone punches you in the gut and you can't talk. And he was sitting with his knees up to his chest. And I grabbed him, and when I went to pick him up, his whole body just went limp. He turned real pale and was having shallow breathing. And what I did was I just laid him on top of me, like, this way, because I didn't want to move him because I didn't know if he had a spinal injury or whatnot. And it was just me and Gigi home, and the door was closed up to the garage. And so I'm screaming, "Call 911, call 911." And I didn't want to leave him because I didn't know if I had to do CPR. And I just kept praying to God, "Please don't take my son," just all that stuff. And then Gigi finally heard me screaming, and she called 911. Ambulance backed in, put the C-collar on him, put an IV in him. His blood pressure was low, but I guess just the hard impact of the hit caused like a lot of trauma to like just, adrenaline and all that and the shock. And so he ended up just having a sore tailbone, a little cut around his like bottom. But thank God we walked out of UC Davis that day, because it was scared. And all I can say is that if you have kids, take CPR, because you never know when you're going to be put in a situation where you might need it.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm so glad that the little dude is all right. Send him hugs and love from his Team Fast family. Let him know Uncle E's thinking about him. And if you guys need anything, let me know. But happy for your family, and I'm really happy that he's okay. Chris, that never gets old. So Chris drops his son off every single day, same time, and they have this, and they do that every single time. Love that. So you guys, hard to shift gears from that, Joe Ellen, but we're going to shift gears. I really appreciate you sharing. So by a show of hands, let me ask this question. Maybe give me a reaction below, since there's so many people, different places. How many people have ever talked to a buyer recently, or a potential buyer, that says, I'm thinking that we should just probably rent for a little bit longer, or we just want to rent until it's time for us to buy? Have you ever had that conversation with a consumer? Right? I think most of us have had this conversation with the consumer, and I think that it's important for this dialogue today. I was on a mastermind call on Monday, and I saw a really great way to explain this, to have this conversation with consumers, to where it really opens up their mind of how detrimental to them, to their finances, it is to actually wait, and what they're going to potentially lose. Not just saying, hey, you're going to spend all of this rent over time, and then that's money that's in a complete loss. We'll have that conversation, but I wanted to make this a very simple conversation. So no matter if you are an experienced agent that's done 40 million, or if you're that very new agent that is still searching for the first deal. So Give you some context here. And if you live in the city of Oakland, every single area is having rental increases across the nation. So let's talk about the Bay Area and let's talk about Oakland specifically. Oakland landlords can raise rents by 6.7% in July. So that's a huge increase for renters. And a lot of time we get people saying that we want to rent and we want to wait and now's not a good time. So I think that there's some important dialogue to have here. What I like about this and what I like about talking to renters is that there's so many people that don't know what's possible. They don't know that there's programs out there. They don't know what to do, what to save. Have I even had a conversation with the lender? Have I had a conversation with the credit repair person? Am I taking the necessary steps to at least get ready? So does anybody have really, really good dialogue right now that they feel that they can share with the group before I get into my exercise? Is there anybody that has really good dialogue? If someone says, you know what, I'm thinking about just renting for the next year or so, does anybody have dialogue that's worked for them, that they feel they can flow very well with? Does anybody want to share before I share an example? And feel free to volunteer. Going once, going twice. Okay, cool. So, okay, Dan. So Dan, have a little role play session with me. You know, we've been looking for the last 4 months, and I think it's just important that we're probably going to rent for a while, kind of watch interest rates, see what happens with interest rates. We're going to wait.
Okay. And just help me understand, why do you feel like it'd be more beneficial for you to rent now versus continuing down buying?
Well, you know, it's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. We want to see if the interest rates go down and thinking, you know, maybe there's going to be a housing crash.
Okay. That's fair. I totally understand that there's a lot going on right now. So I could see how it feels like maybe something crazy is going to happen. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So walk me through though, if in 2 years we get 2 years in, what happens if the market doesn't crash and interest rates are at 7%? Where does that put you guys?
Stuck, I guess.
Right. So I mean, and you've gotten your approval already, and from what we've been seeing, are there any houses that you're seeing now that would fit the criteria that you're looking for?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
But I think like maybe interest rates go down to like 3.5 or something. Maybe we'll want to try purchasing there.
Yeah. I hope they do. And the reality though, is if interest rates go down, all you do is refi. I mean, you're not stuck with the interest rate that you got. So if in 2 years your interest rates go down, you just refinance. Because the reality is there's a chance that interest rates go down, the market crashes, all this stuff happens. The most likely outcome that we're looking at from all the economists and all of the people that really think a lot harder about this stuff than I do, is that prices are going to continue to creep up. Interest rates are going to continue to creep up. And affordability is just going to continue to get squeezed. So, I mean, obviously do what's right for you and your family. But kind of for the things that we've discussed, a really good path forward that's going to get you a lot more certainty would be to buy now if you can and lock in the house, lock in the interest rate. If it goes up, then you look like a genius. If it goes down, you refinance, and no harm, no foul. But either way, you're kind of locking in what you know now versus kind of guessing and betting on the future.
I love this. And really, really well said. You have this way of when you smile, when I said something, when you were about to respond, that really put some ease in the conversation. You kept your poise, and I really like this conversation. Is it safe to say that you guys, that rentals have gone up and equity has gone up in the last 10 years, no matter what market you're in? Is it safe to say that rents have gone up and equity has gone up in the last 10 years? Safe to say? I think we can all agree on that. Okay, cool. So I love this conversation. I want to hear from one more person before I show this example. Who else has some really, really great dialogue that they're having with consumers if this objection or this concern comes up about the market? Does anybody else want to go? And don't be shy, you guys, because this is how we get better. Jim, you responded in the chat. Do you want to articulate this?
Yeah. So so with inflation, this is what I've been talking to my clients about. Is inflation is here to stay. If you think back, when I was younger, I spent 50 cents for a bar of Snickers. Now I'm paying $1.30 for a bar of Snickers. Inflation is continuously going up. It's not going back down. Gas prices are up. It's not going back down. It'll balance itself out. We'll see some fluctuation with the market, but it's not going to crash. There's a lot of stop loss set in place to prevent a 2008 crash again. That was a global crash. So that's what I've been talking to them about.
I love this. I love this. You guys, I want to make this as simple as I learned it. And it was just, and I'm going to share this with you guys. It was so simple that anybody on this call can deliver this message. All you need is a piece of paper and a pen, and you let the consumer know what side of the equation that they want to be on. And it's really that simple. And I think, Amanda, you were on the session on Monday. And so if this is redundant, it's okay, because I think it's important to have this conversation. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and forgive my drawing. I used a whiteboard on Zoom here. So on the left-hand side, so this is a very, very easy exercise, and it's a very easy communication to have with the consumer. On the left-hand side, you have your rent, right? On the right-hand side, you have purchase. So just stay here with me for a little bit. On the left-hand side, your equity is down on the bottom, right? Notice that that equity doesn't move, but what is consistently going up is your payment, right? So stay with me for this conversation. On the right side, you notice that the purchase is, the equity line is the one that's going up, and the payment is down below. Now, if we were to add a little context here, let me let Danielle in the room. If we were able to add a little bit of context here and put this bottom line in, I think somebody stated this. So that bottom line could be your refinance. And so let's have this conversation. When you're talking with a renter, it's important to find out, how long have you been? So Jim, just play along with me for the context of this conversation. Take yourself off of mute really quick. So Jim, how long have you been renting a home?
4 years.
4 years ago. And 4 years ago, so let's go back a little further. Let's just say you've been renting for 7. Jim, what was your rent 7 years ago?
Maybe $1,000.
Yeah, and then what was your rent 3 years ago?
It's probably gone up to 1,300.
Yeah, and then what's your rent today?
1,800.
Correct. And then what's happened to your equity?
I don't have any equity because I'm renting.
Exactly, right? And so the question here is, what side of the equation do you want to be on? It's really, really important for a consumer to see that, hey, on the right side of this, your payment is going to be flat. And over time, if you refinance that, now that payment is even lower, but what's continuing to rise is your equity is continuing to rise. On the rent here, you have zero equity and you're continuing to pay, and that number is going to continue to go up and continue to go up. The person that said this in San Diego, 25% increase in rents in 1 year in San Diego. So I think that if you just have these simple conversations and create this conversation of, we take a stance of creating a movement in real estate. And what is the movement? The movement is the no renter left behind movement. What I would do is I would target areas that have the highest rents, whether it's Berkeley, whether it's certain parts of San Francisco, whether it's certain parts of Castro Valley, Hayward, wherever you guys are. I promise you, there are rents that are $3,500, $4,500, $5,500 and above. So maybe it's an opportunity for us to have that conversation. I know we're looking for listing opportunities. I know we're looking for buyer opportunities, but this is a great way to communicate this message in a very effective way. Also, how many people think that they could break this down, do a whiteboard presentation, and create a cool video on this? It's simple, right? You could create a simple video that is less than 2 minutes and saying, hey guys, I want to share an example with you that I learned the other day that I think it's super, super powerful, and literally do this diagram, show them the equity, show them the payment, and really have a conversation about that. I promise you, if you made a video about this, it would hit, because it's your voice, it's your communication, it's your way of delivering the message. So I had a hand up. Otis, you had a hand up.
Yes, to keep in mind too, that there's been a lot of people since the pandemic that have those rent backs, rent forgiveness and stuff like that, that did not get their payments. So they're going to be coming soon with a lump sum of money. So some of us might be able to get lucky to get those at some clients. So that's just something to probably keep in mind.
Totally. Absolutely. So how many people think that that's a more simple way of looking at it? Please raise your hand, give me a reaction below. How many people think that they could deliver that message in a very, very easy way to their consumers? Okay, cool. I love this. And I love the hands that are going up. So really quick, you guys, take a quick picture of this, and forgive me, I'm trying to draw on the screen, but take a picture of this. I want you guys to really, really unpack this dialogue. And when you're sitting in front of a consumer, when anybody says, anytime that you talk with a person, say, oh, well, we're renting and I've been renting, there's obviously an opportunity for us to go in a layer deeper. Otis, you had your hand up again.
I was about to say, I'll probably be around the office around 1 or 2 o'clock. If anybody wants to knock out some videos, let's go. We can knock this out. It'll be a prime example to start somewhere.
Yeah, I love it. And anybody that creates a video on this, just tag me. I want to see this video, because I think this could be something really, really special. Because what are people doing? What we're doing is we are looking for the people that are already in the stream, right? What does that mean? They're already in the stream, so they're already looking, they're already probably getting talked to by different realtors, whatever. But when we talked about the upstream, right? The people in the upstream, they haven't even hit the market yet. They don't even realize what's possible until you put them on game and you share some information with them that opens up their mind, right? Because at the end of the day, you're serving them, you're helping them, even if their plan means this is going to take 1 year. You got to save X amount. You got to do this. You got to pay down those loans. You got to stop spending all of your credit every single month that you get your credit. You have to do some things that are different. You help them. You help them through this process. A lot of times you're like, oh, well, renting, well, all right, let's just go to the absentee owner, let's mail to them. Well, what about the people that are living in that home in Walnut Creek that are spending $4,500 a month just so their kids can go to a Walnut Acres school because it's the best rated school in that area, right? So it's like when you start to think about this contextually, there's a huge conversation here. And so I wanted to share that with you because that's my note from the other day. And I was like, this is a very, very easy way to have this conversation. Joellen, you had your hand up. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, speaking about that, about the people that are renting in the high rent areas with the good schools like Walnut Creek, Moraga, Lafayette, there's a lot of people over there spending $5,000 to $8,000 a month so they can go to Camp Alindo, so they can go to those schools. But do you know it's less expensive to actually move to maybe stay in a certain area and send them to the private school so they can still get like a nice area, Pleasant Hill, you know, certain parts, instead of having to be in that certain area where there's good schools that are private and it's cheaper. So they just need to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it's about having more dialogue, right? Because there's probably conversations that you have with consumers. Let's just do a quick survey. How many people, and raise your hand, we'll have you put your hands down. How many people feel like they can crush a conversation with a potential seller right now? How many people feel that they can crush that conversation? Okay, a couple people. Give me some reactions to you guys so I can get some like just a quick survey. Give me some reactions. Who can crush a conversation with the listing with the potential seller right now? Give me a reaction below. Was that a half a hand, Chris? Cool, I love that. All right. I need some reactions on the screen. Use the reaction button down below. How many people feel that they can crush a conversation with a seller right now? Okay, cool. I'm not seeing many hands go up. All right. How many people feel that they can absolutely crush a conversation with a buyer right now? Please raise your hand if you feel like you could just crush a conversation. Okay, cool. All right. Now, I love this. I'm getting tons of reactions. I love this. How many people, and then let's put your hand down. How many people feel like they have great dialogue when speaking to a renter that says, I want to rent for the next 5 years? So cool. So once again, I saw a couple hands, 1 or 2 hands. Jewel, raise your hand. Joellen, raise your hand. So this is important that in your arsenal, in your dialogue bucket, like you have these conversations that you can oscillate through, because I think we could potentially serve so many more people out there if we just know how to talk to those people, right? And say, oh, you rent, okay, cool. Like I want you guys to know how to take those levels, those conversations to the next level. So Eric, let me call on you, brother. When you hear something like this, I'm sure you've had many conversations with consumers about wanting to rent, wanting to wait, wanting to stall, wait until the market, whatever. How are you having conversation with this segment of our market?
Yes. So one of the scripts that I lead in with is, you're always going to be paying a mortgage, whether it's yours or your landlord's, right? But the difference is if you pay your own mortgage, you're, locking yourself for appreciation, equity, and so on, right? Also, I think something that people overlook is, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just having a brain fart over here. But basically I convey to them, hey, it's kind of like you're wasting money. You know what I mean? And especially with rates going up the way they are, buying a property right now is a hedge against inflation, right? And I've said this already on this chat before. But if you want to really back it up, I mean, I just posted, if you guys scroll up in the chat, I posted a New York Times article that shows a graph of what rates were or have been, right? And if you show that to a client or a potential buyer, it shows them, even though we're at like 5.5% right now, we're still relatively really low. I mean, compared to, the 80s when our parents were buying houses, or the Gen Xers who were buying houses, they were almost at 18%, right? So 5% really, it seems a lot. But again, this is something that I've also brought up last time, and something Kenny brought up was, everyone's focusing on the rates coming up 1%, right? Which is going to decrease your purchasing power by 10%, right? But also at the same time, everyone's talking about the rates going up, the minuscule rates going up, but, they're not talking about the year over year growth in the Bay Area. For the last 13 years, prices in the Bay have appreciated 15 to 20% year over year. That's fucking insane, right? So you got to paint a picture, right? And I'm always telling you guys this in my coaching calls and our classes and all that. But we're as humans, we're storytellers, right? We relate to people and one another by telling stories and painting pictures. And when you put it that way, it's easier for them to consume that. And they're like, damn, I didn't think of it that way. And you can literally hear the light bulb flicker on in their head when you tell them this kind of information, because it's a perspective change, right? And so by providing this kind of information, and if you want to go even further, right? And so like we take the DISC test, right? And we try to mirror our clients and try to figure out what their personalities are. Okay, well, I can tell, this guy's really analytical and he's asking me, questions about numbers and analytics and stuff. Boom, I'll send you a graph to show you to accentuate my point. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of key. And again, it's like, we're bombarded with information all the time, right? NPR, news, blah, blah, blah. Rates are going up, mass hysteria, people are housing shortage crisis, blah, 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 right? We're bombarded with all this kind of information. So, if you make it easier for the client to digest some of that information, well, you know what, sir? Like, actually, what you heard is kind of true, but, and then you go on and whatever, right? And I think a great resource of doing that before I call, I'll read through articles. I'll go on Inman. I'll go on New York Times. I'll go on, SF Curbed, and try to see if I can find articles related to the interest rate so that I have ammunition to fire off, right? If I do get objections and things like that. So that's kind of my tidbit.
A couple of things here. And I think, Eric hit it right on. You guys need to store third-party stories, and you need to be a junkie about third-party stories. Depending on where someone falls in their personalities and where they fall in the DISC profile, you might have a story that is aligned perfectly with that person, right? The story that Joe Ellen said about private schools, why they moved up to, to the country, what they have in a house, like being able to reduce their rents, be able to go to private schools, those things are really, really powerful. So use these stories. And let's think about this. When Eric said everyone's paying a mortgage, right? Everyone's paying for cost of living. Everyone's paying mostly for insurance, some type of taxes. But what else renters are paying for is they're paying for someone else's profit, right? They're paying for the profit of the landlord because that landlord is making fucking money off of them. So yeah, they're paying for their cost of living, but they're also paying the profit so that person can live an abundant lifestyle. So you have to choose which side of the equation that you want to be on, and you have to make it that simple for a consumer to be able to look at. Ernesto, you had your hand up, bro.
Yeah, I did. I personally, I don't know. I don't talk about equity as much. And here's the reason why. I don't think a lot of people know what to do with the equity, even if they had it. I think a lot of people have a misconception that the only way to really unlock your equity is by selling. So I don't really go into equity that much, although I was on that same call, and I totally resonate with that graph. I'll give a couple different ideas about how I position, especially to renters. There is a break-even point. So let's say you buy a home and your new expense is going to be, I don't know, $4,000 a month. Right now, their rent is, I don't know, 33. So in their head, they're going to be like, man, this is not worth it. Why would I put myself in a position to pay more for housing when I don't need to? And so you kind of have to do that math for them. Okay, we have to understand that your mortgage is going to be fixed unless you refinance. Nobody can change your payment anymore. But let's look at your rents. You're paying this amount. Let's say on average it goes up 5% a year. At about year 5, 6, or 7, whatever their situation, after that, you are in a worse position forever than if you would have purchased. So it doesn't always make sense on day one, but doing that exercise with people for me has been really helpful. I think of a client last year who bought because he lived in a non-rent controlled building in San Francisco, and he had a $500 increase that was coming his way, and it was like a boulder that he wanted to avoid. And so we crunched the numbers, like, yeah, it is going to be a little bit more expensive for year, basically, up until year 2 and 3, and then at that point, you're winning. The other thing is PMI. Like when we run our forecast and we tell people what their budget's going to be, and it includes PMI, at some point PMI falls off. So they also have to understand that this is the most, when you buy your home, unless you're putting 20% down or unless you find a way to avoid PMI, this is as expensive as it's ever going to be. And then at some point, the PMI is going to fall off and then it gets cheaper. So those two conversations with real numbers and getting them to just like see the math, for me has been, I think, a little bit more impactful.
Love this. I love this. And you guys, like, you have to be able to paint the picture. Like, it's really, really easy for us, for consumers and for humans in general, to see the immediate, right? It's important that you guys learn to not only be visionaries, but to help people see the big vision of what's possible by educating and sharing with them, telling stories. Like, this is an important part of you guys truly, truly growing your communication with consumers. I had a couple hands up. Nicole Penland, you had your hand up. If you're going to share, just ask you to put your camera on real quick. All right, cool. We will move on. Oh, there she is.
I put the thing up real quick. I had finally got my camera ready. Can you hear me?
Yep, it's a little muffled, but what's up, Nicole?
I said I was asking you to pop the diagram up again. I took a minute to get my camera ready.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, cool. Awesome. And then Evelyn, you had your hand up. Was that a new hand or was that just a response to something before?
No, I was trying to lower my hand, sorry.
Okay, no worries, no worries. All right, so let's do this. I want to hear from somebody that has been in the business for a very long time, but also want to hear from a newer agent just so we can get some context on this. So Danielle, a very good communicator. Let's hear from you. I want to hear from you. If somebody says, you know what, Danielle, we have some money saved up, Daniela, and we're just going to wait, and we're going to rent for probably the next couple years and see if those numbers come down and if interest rates come down. So yeah, we're probably just going to wait for a while.
Yeah, I can understand why you would want to rent. Buying can be an overwhelming process, but it doesn't have to be, especially when we have a game plan in place. So let me ask you, have you spoken to a lender?
No, we just did one of those like mortgage calculators on the internet to give us an idea of what we could potentially afford based on what we make.
Yeah. And it's so easy to use those tools, right? Because they're just like so accessible to us. But the thing is that once we speak to a professional who knows what the interest rates are, what you can work with, believe me, those numbers are going to feel a lot more comfortable to you. The thing also about renting is that unfortunately, whatever you were paying 5 years ago, I'm willing to bet it's not the same as what you're paying right now, right?
It's about $1,000 more.
Yeah. And I'm also willing to bet that there's no equity there, right?
None.
Yeah. So what if we do this? What if we connect with my preferred lender and we can just hear her out? Let's just see what we have to work with. If we're at a position right now to buy, you then at least have that information in your back pocket, and then you can decide what you want to do.
Wow, really great job. Like, this is the quintessential, like, if I could, would you? I'm not saying that we could, but if I could, would you at least look at the possibilities of becoming a homeowner in the Bay Area? So if I could get you in contact with a credit repair person, a lender, somebody to help you understand exactly what you qualify for, then would you be open to at least having that conversation? Well, yeah, sure, we would be open if you could. Now you deliver and you show them exactly what you said that you were going to show them. So Daniela, really strong, really strong. Let's hear from Maria. Maria, if you're having this conversation with the, she knew it. She was smiling though. That's why
I was like, I know it.
So let's hear from you. Like, if you're having this type of dialogue, this flow with the consumer, where are you at? How are you educating?
So usually when a buyer comes to me with that, and interestingly enough, I've had this conversation 3 times this week, and I've only been home for 1 day.
Welcome back.
So, thank you. So I asked the question, so tell me a little bit about what is it about buying that is preventing you from buying, right? And usually the response is the interest rates, the payments. Those are the 2 really. And I have put in the chat that at the end of the day, it's fear. So I use my story. So I tell them, you know what? I totally understand and I totally get it. I felt the same way that you did 6 months ago. And I was getting ready to go out and pay rent of $1,800 a month. And I know in the Bay Area, y'all like, this is nothing, but, and so I decided to talk to my lender and see what exactly my payments would be. And I was scared. I'm going to be honest. I was scared. I haven't been a homeowner for, 10 years, and I'm doing this by myself. I was literally scared. But meeting with my friend who's a lender calmed my fears. I knew that I can work in the budget, but how would I put this? My payment literally doubled from what I was paying in rent. So yes, it was a stretch. Yes, it was a little bit scary. Yes, all of those things. But I also knew that renting in the long run would not benefit me or my family. And I go back to, what is it about buying that scares you? And then usually it truly is the payment. Someone told me, oh, they're afraid to pay $5,000 a month in a mortgage. And I was like, but you're willing to spend $3,000 to rent. And where does that $5,000 payment come from? That's a big old ass house here in Sacramento. So I use my story. And usually when I use my story, they get it.
I love this. It's personal. It's, not just a third party story. It's a personal story because let's face it, $3,500 rent, 5 years, $210,000. How can you say that you can't afford a home if you're throwing away $210,000? So Maria, I love this. Daniela, you had your hand back up. Let's hear from you again. Then we'll go to Otis.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So I'm sure you guys have seen, because Kenny posted about it on his stories too, about this new forgivable equity builder loan. Is that something that we should be bringing up to people who have in the past told us like, hey, like it's hard for me to save money because I'm spending it all on my rent. Like, according to what I read, it seems like it's something that I should be at least bringing up in conversation, or at the very least make a video about it. What are everyone's thoughts? Is it too new to talk about, or I don't know?
Let's hear from a couple people on this. Chris, you had to chime in, and then Joel, we'll go to you. Chris, you want to chime in on that?
I actually did research, talked to my lender about that program, and I got one of my FHA clients actually approved for it. There's income limitations, and also depends on where you're buying the property. So any buyer that's not pre-approved, I'd use that as a way to let them know you have a possibility of actually getting 10% down that's forgivable as long as you've lived in a property for 5 years. Game changer. At least that will make them talk to your lender, and you can see where they're exactly at, and you get a roadmap to whether they could buy or not. So use that as a tool to get everybody pre-approved.
Love it. Love it. Joel, and you had something else you want to contribute on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's the new Cal FHA down payment assistance program that they're giving about 10%, I believe. There are some restrictions like the income, debt to income ratio, but it's definitely a conversation to say, hey, let's see if you qualify for it. You know what I mean? Then they get the ball going. Don't promise anything. Just say, you know what, there's these new programs, and based on what you're telling me, you may be pre-qualified. Let's get you with our lender.
And I think it's important, Danielle, that you really know, just the slew of options that are out there. For example, like B of A has the Eagle program that will give, I think it's like about 17 G's. It's credit towards closing costs and then a grant. And it has to fall in a certain census tract in order for them to qualify for that. So certain areas are going to qualify for different programs. And so, but that's a really astute question. Otis, you had your hand up in contribution to that as well.
Yeah, that was a great question that she asked. And also, I think one of the other things is it's forgivable if you live in the house for more than 5 years. So I think that could be a good point. Also, going back to the rent portion, like it's pretty clear just to tell somebody short and sweet that, are you going to continue to pay for something that's never going to be yours, or pay off something that's going to be yours, and then at the end of it, being able to sell it and make some money off of it.
Love this. Pamela is an expert in this space, so she had her hand up. I'd love to hear from you. Let's hear your contribution.
Okay, I was just saying that everyone on the call should know about all the down payment programs that are available, because sometimes your client may not qualify, but if you can tell them that those are options available to them, they will love you, even if they can't qualify. Because there's, you can do a program, and I'll put the link in the chat where they may fill out a form and say, oh, you qualify for 20, down payment programs based on where you live and your income, blah, blah, blah. And if you can give them that, that is so valuable to that particular consumer. And also, you should know, if you're a realtor and you're helping buyers, you should know that those options are available, regardless if they can use them or not. You should educate your clients. I just want to throw that out. I'll throw the link in. Like I said, and everyone in this room, especially if you're new, you need to know about it. I'll be more than happy to share whatever I can, but it's definitely a good tool to have to set yourself apart from someone else.
Absolutely love this. Does anybody else have any more contributions on this topic? Because I want to make sure to close this loop, but I'm glad it went in this direction, because I didn't anticipate all of this great feedback, insight, thoughts on this. Does anybody else have anything that they want to contribute on this topic? Bo, let's go over to you, brother, and then we'll come back to you, Daniela.
Yeah, the last thing that I would want to say about speaking to renters specifically is when you bring value to these renters, much like bringing like even a first-time homebuyer or down payment assistance program that they end up not qualifying for, you're going to be their guy. And that also means that they're going to tell other people about you. Like, hey, I've had every realtor just brush me off, and this guy took his time, or this gal took his time, set me up. We weren't able to, but you should call him. I know that he'll do everything that he can for you. And so it's that putting in kind of people equity that will pay off over time too.
I love that, people equity. And you guys, I've heard tons and tons of stories in my career that people got referrals from people that they never even closed, right? They never purchased a home. It just wasn't their time. Maybe it's a few years out, but got referrals that closed well before that original person even bought a house. I mean, it's powerful. People equity. I absolutely love that. Daniela, you had another one.
Yeah, so in the past, working with real estate agents, I would create a lot of content for their social, helping people save money, right? Because sometimes people don't have the money saved for their down payment, which is something that stops them. So maybe they may not be ready to buy a house right now, but they could in a year. And so you can absolutely create content for like money saving tips. You can refer them to like the Dave Ramsey, or take Dave Ramsey's formulas and create social content around that. And it just kind of, I think Bo said, right, the people equity. So if you position yourself as a resource, specifically on social, and you start creating this content, I think that really sticks with people. And again, you never know who they know who may be ready to buy or sell. Just putting it out there.
Love this. You guys, I remember this, and I believe this with certainty and conviction. We are the great emancipators of the dream. Sometimes that dream is a little bit further out for some. Sometimes that dream is fleeting and you're able to bring them back in because you helped them. You gave them information. I had a client last year, we found them $17,000 and that was all they needed to get their offer accepted because we were super, super close. They were able to come in a little bit more, help with the down payment and closing costs, and they were able to get the home. So you guys, sometimes that dream is closer than what they even know. There's people out there right now that have the ability to do so, but they just need you to, hey, hi, did you know about the movement or did you know about the things that we're talking about? It's important. So love it. Let's hear one more person's contribution on this topic before we come full circle on this. Anybody else? All right, cool. You guys did a really, really good job on this. That dialogue or that diagram, excuse me, is super, super easy to convey. It's super easy to speak to. Do it in your own way, you guys. The thoughts and ideas are when you guys come to group coaching, leave with something that you can create on social, leave something that you can share with the consumer. And now you should be able to say, you know what, I'm one step closer to having even more dialogue, right? So as we grow in this department, we're going to focus heavily on dialogue. Speaking of, by a show of hands, or excuse me, by a reaction down below, how many of you signed up for boot camp? Please raise your hand or give me a, of course, Eric, you did. All right. So boot camp is going to be a game changer this time around. And the first time was obviously great. Look at all these hands. I fucking love this, you guys. I love this. All right. Here's why. You guys are saying, you know what? I am ready for battle. Put me in. I'm going to go in and I'm going to learn how to do these things. PK made a video earlier. She's like, okay, I want to order a sandwich. I'm in 205. It was super cute. And then she gets on the phone and be like, I'm a sandwich, right? And I love that example because some of you will come across as I'm a sandwich, right? Because you just don't have the proper dialogue. You don't have the confidence to have the proper dialogue. Our goal, me, Eric and Cynthia, our goal is to make you master communicators and master prospectors. By the end of that session, there should be no question. This should never be a question. Where do I go to get the business, Elias? That shouldn't be a question. You guys will become masters, and what you'll find, like, wow, I did really, really good in door knocking. I really saw a return on door knocking. I did really, really good on my social media. You guys are going to find your voice through this exercise. I promise you. And every single week, we're going to be doing role play sessions, even if you're not in the boot camp. We did this a couple months ago. I think 30, 40 of you guys showed up. We went and broke out. We made phone calls. Eric hosted one last week that had rave reviews. We're going to do another one tomorrow in the office from 2 to 3:30 before the festivities, before the celebration. So if you guys want to come into the office tomorrow, do some script role playing, do some live prospecting, let's do that. Let's grow together. Let's push. Let's hear how other people are saying. You might hear Danielle and be like, damn, that's really, really good. I would have never thought to respond like that. Andrea, I love how you say that. That's the power of
you add it to Zoom too, so that some of us, we can participate as well, just by putting the Zoom up and then.
Yeah, I'll put the Zoom, we'll meet in the main conference room. I'll put it on Zoom and then you guys can chime in.
Our cameras up and all that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. How many people came to the last one? I know Sam was there, Danielle, Carla was there. I think Rakitha was there. I saw people getting their first appointments ever. So let's do that again tomorrow, you guys, 2 to 3:30 at HQ. Let's have some fun with it. Let's break some bread and let's challenge each other, right? And then boot camp's going to start next week, and that's going to be super, super intense. You guys get one chance to fuck up, and if you do, then you guys are out of the program. And hey, it is what it is, right? It's not about emotion. This is about, getting you guys to produce at the highest level, because we know it's going to change your lives and your family's lives. So let's do this. Before we head out, I want to get a couple key takeaways from today's session together. Let's go to Mama Son. What was some of your takeaways from today's session?
10 to 15% appreciation year by year. And just as important practice role playing with buyer side and seller side, the rental, people who are renting as well.
Love this. I love this. Alex Lopez, let's hear from you, bro. What were some of your takeaways from today's session?
the I'm a sandwich right there. Yes, I've fallen victim to that many times where I got it in my head sounding beautiful, or I even spit it out a little bit before I even make the call, and I get the call and it's I'm a sandwich. So yeah, definitely the importance of just getting those reps in as far as like what I'm going to say, the dialogue, because yeah, that one just resonated so much with me.
I love that. You know what? The teenager in my house like hates it because we'll go out to eat and then she'll be looking at the menu. And then I don't know if your kids do this. She looks to mom. I'm like, don't answer. You say it and say, or else you're not getting any burrito. You say what you want, or else you're not getting a burrito. So
happens with my kids too. Nope,
right?
you're ordering for you. Yeah,
I do it in our household, man. So good stuff, Alex. So I'll help you become not a sandwich. All right. So Danielle, let's hear from you. Key takeaways from today's session. Danielle Martinez, sorry.
Oh, sorry. My key takeaways are, regardless the market's going to shift, we're always going to have different types of buyers, and we have to go in with something of value. We don't have to know everything all the time, but we have to have a few key points just to speak with them, whether it's about how you can find a home, where, you know, what their status is, connecting them with the lender, throwing a few things out there. We just have to always be on top of it to know who we're talking to and what we're talking about.
Totally. I love it. You guys, let's be very clear on this. It is never the market, ever. And I will never hear that. It is never the market. Why? Because somebody always wins no matter what's happening. A high market, a soft market, a seller's market, a buyer's market. Somebody is always winning no matter what. And there's agents that over the test of time have always been able to sell no matter what the market is. It's not the market, it's your messaging. And if your message is correct and you're able to adjust based on the times, you're okay. But when you make it an issue, oh my God, like Eric was saying, like, oh my God, I'm scared. It's the interest rates. Yeah, you should panic. Like you make it an issue. It's not an issue. The market is never the concern. It always falls back to the agent and the messaging. Let's hear from one other person, then we'll close out for the day. Let's go to Sam. Sam, what were some of your key takeaways from today's session?
It's just a brainstorming, everybody getting together and chipping in. That's a really good information because we're all out there experiencing same questions and struggling with it. So thank you, everyone.
I love this. I love this. You guys, in the coming weeks, we are going to use Wednesdays as a platform to hear from people in the industry that we have had the ability to connect to at these amazing masterminds that we've gone to. In the coming weeks, I'm going to have the guy, we talked about the upstream partners. I think we spoke about that last week. The guy that actually did that presentation, he's going to hop on group coaching with us on a Wednesday, and he's going to walk through that. So I'm going to allocate Wednesdays for having a guest speaker come in, but then in the off weeks when we don't have a guest speaker, we're going to continue to talk about the market because it's super important. But I have him coming on, I have Mr. Social Savvy coming on. So be on the lookout. Those are going to be new collateral pieces that are going to showcase what we have. And then you guys can use that collateral to share with people in the industry, like, hey guys, here's what we're learning. Here's what we're doing on group coaching. Come and join this environment just like you guys have. So super, super stoked about what's ahead. I'll probably have Eric moderate those sessions and have some fun with the people. We'll have some great dialogue, guys. We'll do some Q&A at the end, but so look forward to some enhancements. But at the end of the day, you guys have done an amazing job sharing and contributing to your brothers and sisters. And that's what this environment is all about. Now I'm going to leverage these huge events that we're going to, and I want to bring those people into our environment. So if you guys need anything, let me know. I'm going to head to Stockton for a little while. And then I will be at Jack London tomorrow. So come through, let's do some live role playing. Let's do some live prospecting, have some fun with it, book some appointments. And then afterwards, have some tequila and for the folks that drink, or have some tacos and for the folks that drink, have some tequila. So appreciate you guys more than you guys know. I am full of gratitude and love and emotion today. And thank you guys for being a huge part of that. So peace and have a wonderful, wonderful day.